This is a video I've been wanting to do for like the last several weeks, as this has been irritating me lately over the last few years dealing with the Pokemon community, and that is, how do I play Pokemon? But more particularly, how do I run teams basically? So what I've noticed the last few years in the community is that I apparently play Pokemon quite differently from other people in the main story. From what I've seen, what people do is they plan their teams ahead of time and then they just go along with that and stuff. I don't play Pokemon like that. I've never played Pokemon like that other than a few times. And honestly, it's really boring to plan your team ahead of time and just stick with it. My playstyle is to catch anything at random. Random chance, random desire, maybe battle an encounter that maybe interests me enough to catch and stuff like that. But you get what I'm saying. I don't plan my teams out. And also, I swap my teams out based upon the upcoming gym challenges and all that, because it's called playing efficiently. So, to explain this, I wanted to do this video. And for this example, I am doing a fictional game on Pokemon Fire Red to explain this. So we start off, of course, when I pick my starter. Now, I always usually alternate when I last pick a starter, but I don't know what the current order is in Kanto at the moment, so I decided for the challenge and the sake of it to stick with Charmander for this one. So I start off with Charmander. So then once I'm able to get my first Pokeballs, my next question is, who do I catch? And the first encounters you can find are Pidgey and Rattata, of course. Now, like I said, it's random. Sometimes I only catch Pidgey. Sometimes I only catch Rattata. Sometimes I'll catch both of them. Sometimes I'll catch none of them. Either of them. It all depends on my mood and other randomness and factors. But in this test, I decided, why not get both of them? So that is what I would do. I would get Pidgey and Rattata, plus I would go to the route to the west of Viridian so I could pick myself up a Mankey. That way I have something guaranteed offensively to challenge Brock. And then I would get everyone up to level 8, which is the level I always get to before I go into Viridian Forest. So then when I get into Viridian Forest, to catch the very rare Pikachu. And then by the time I get to Brock, most of my team, or at least my strongest member, would be normally at level 10 or so. And then when I finally battle Brock, most times in my experience, my strongest member would be at level 12. So once I beat Brock, if my strongest member in this scenario is level 12, I'm going to get everyone up to level 12, because I always keep everyone the same equal level before I head out somewhere new. And I always alternate the one that's closest to leveling up usually as my first member out. I always alternate who I have first out in the party. So then by the time I get to Mount Moon, I would have gotten myself a Nidoran male and a Jigglypuff. So now I have more than 6 members. So now the question is, how do I set my team up now once I have 6 members? Well, I always set up to be against the best outcome against the upcoming gym leader. So Misty's coming up, so water type. Charmander, of course, being a fire type, is terrible against Misty, so therefore I put Charmander away and have the team set up to this. And by the time I get to Mount Moon, I'm usually level 14. So I get everyone up to level 14. Nidoran male, Jigglypuff, and whoever else did not get the 14 yet. And then inside Mount Moon, I would catch myself a Paris and a Zubat, so more team swapping would have to happen. Paris, of course, being part bug and grass, being strong against Misty, and of course, remember, Bullet Seed is in Mount Moon, so a very good move to get Paris, because Paris is really strong against Misty. That's apparently not easy for a lot of people, but for me it always was. And of course, Zubat, while weak defensively to Misty's Starmie, even though I don't think it has a Psychic type move, it has Bite. Well, it can learn Bite and Astonish, so it has something offensively that's good against Misty Starmie. So I would put away Mankey and Nidoran male, since they're not offensively and defensively good against Misty coming up. So by the time I get out of Mount Moon, I would normally be at level 16. So after taking on Blue, I would then head up north past Nugget Bridge, and of course, I would run across and Oddish, the cutest Pokemon ever. And of course, I would get that on the team for an extra grass type. So of course, I would put away Zubat because although its offensive powers is useful, its defensive stats against Misty are terrible compared to everyone else, so I put that away for Oddish. So then after all that, and take care of all the trainers and beat Misty, my team would normally be highest at level 19. So once again, gonna get everyone up to level 19 and swap some members out. Charmander, now Charmeleon's brought back on, since it possibly can learn Dig coming up, remember, and offensively it's solid still against Surge. Nidorino could learn Dig, and also if I give it a Moonstone, it technically could become Nidoking and have a defensive immunity to Surge. And of course I would put away Paris and Pidgey, since Pidgey's weak defensively to Surge, and Paris is not going to be really good. But you see, setting up my team as best as possible to take on an Electric-type gym leader. But then I decided down south near the daycare to get myself a Meowth, since usually Meowth in my experience has been really good in games, and because Pikachu is not good offensively against Surge, I decided to put it away. So by the time I get to Vermilion, my strongest member would be at level 21, and since I don't know who that would be in this scenario, I just have Rattata becoming Raticate and Ash becoming Gloom just in case. But usually my strongest member by the time I get to Vermilion would be at level 21. And then afterwards, I would head to Diglett Cave, and this time I would get myself a Diglett, and I would catch a Drowsy as well. And of course, Diglett being immune to Surge, and my only technical ground-type member on the team, that's an automatic acquisition to the team, and would put Jigglypuff away, as Jigglypuff offensively would not be really viable in a normal playthrough by now. And then, after taking care of the St. Anne and Surge, on average, my strongest members would probably be at level 25. So, here we go again, as I've been saying before. I'm going to get everyone up, at least that I'm going to be using on my team, to level 25. And of course, I would bring Paris back and have it become Parasect. Zubat's brought back on, becomes Golbat. Pidgey's back on the team and become Pidgeotto. And I bring Drowsy on. Paris, Golbat, Parasect, Golbat, Pidgeotto, and Drowsy are all very strong offensively against Erica coming up, so they're required. As Raticate is just neutral, Meowth's just neutral, Gloom, somewhat offensively, but defensively not much against Erica, and Diglett, of course, being terrible against Erica. So I see, my team is pretty much now set perfectly against a Grass-type gym leader, which is what I always do. I always set my team up specifically for the next gym. So then by the time I get to Rock Tunnel, I decided to get myself a Voltorb since I did not have much electric types, and an Onix, a very rare one too, since I don't have any rock types on my team, and they'll be useful later on. So then, I finally, after all of Rock Tunnel, the trainers, before Lavender, Pokemon Tower, the route before getting to Celadon, I'm finally there, and of course, I decided to get myself a Growlithe, since I don't have any other fire types other than Charmeleon, and I get Eevee, and normally what I evolve it to is either based upon my mood or what I need. And I decided for this playthrough, since I had no water types at the time, I decided to get my first water type and get Vaporeon. Now, normally, this actually depends sometimes on my mood, because Growlithe is a fire type, so technically it is usable against Erica coming up for my strategy. But I'm not always guaranteed to swap it out with if I have everyone else set up perfectly, as there might not be a need to, and usually in my experience, Growlithe is not really that good to use, so I'd like to not use it too much. But who knows, maybe if I did this playthrough exactly on another game in the future, maybe I would actually use Growlithe instead of someone else on my team. That's always possible, but right now, for this example, I did not use Growlithe against Erica. And of course, Drowsy became Hypno, which is possible. So then, after taking care of Team Rocket and beating Erica, my strongest member likely would probably be about level 31, although I might be pushing it up there as my higher limit. But after beating Erica, of course, as I said before, now I'm going to set up my team to take on Koga. So I bring back Vaporeon on, keep Nidorino on, bring back Diglett, who becomes Dugtrio, and bring Onix on the team. I bring Diglett back on, of course. Koga's weak to ground. Onix is ground, although it probably wouldn't be good. It doesn't have probably a lot of good ground type moves, but it's also part rock, so it has a defensive resistance to Koga, so that's useful as well. And Vaporeon I would bring on for a little bit extra coverage coming up, and Nidorino could have Dig, I said, plus defensively it resists Koga's poison type, so that still is useful somewhat. So I see my team's suited as best it can for poison type gyms. So then by the time I take care of the rest of Pokemon Tower and then go through Cycle Road, I estimate that my team would normally be at level 34. And of course, I would catch the Snorlax along the way. And when I went to Pokemon Tower, I would get myself a Ghastly and a very rare Cubone, since I rarely ever use that in this series. And I decided to get myself a Doduos, which I haven't used in Kanto in a while. But my team would still remain the same otherwise. So after that, I would go to the Safari Zone, and this is where I got kind of a little bit more ambitious. So I would get Poliwag from the Good Rod that you get in Fuchsia City. I get Execute, which is quite common for me to get. But I decided to get more ambitious. But I decided to give myself Cypher, which is very rare in the Safari Zone to show up. And of course, God forbid catch, unless you made catching easier, which I usually do in randomizers. And get myself a Dratini, which I almost never do in the Safari Zone. If I wanted a Dratini that badly, I usually buy at the Rocket Corner. But yeah, this time I decided to do this one. So, after that, taking care of Koga, my team should probably be at level 36 by now, and time for more swapping, as I bring Gassion and get Gengar, as in this scenario, I would have the forced trade evolutions turned off so it can level up by trade. I think level 36 sometimes happens in randomized games. Trade evolution could happen by then. And if not, it would be a Haunter, but soon become Gengar. I bring Cypher on, bring Dodo on, have it become Dodrio, bring Parasect on, and bring Meowth and have it as a Persian. So, as you can see, Gengar and Cypher and Parasect obviously are strong against Sabrina, being a Psychic type, while Dodrio and Persian are normal, but they have Dark-type moves, and they're fast and hard-hitting, so they're actually pretty good against Sabrina. I've used Dodrio and Persian very often in Fire Red, Leaf Green, since there's no Dark types you can get normally in the game, because they have Dark moves and they're really strong. And Vaporeon pretty much just for coverage, although it could possibly get Bite, so a Dark type move against Sabrina, that would be very useful. Although there might be some times I might actually consider bringing on Raticate, or even Golbat too, because Raticate, same situation as Dodrio and Persian, with Dark-type moves and hitting fast and hard. Golbat, of course, weak defensively, but would have Bite and hit first most likely, so that's also viable. So after all of that, going through all those routes back to Lavender Town, and then heading to Saffron to take on the Fighting Dojo, I usually almost never use Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan from the Fighting Dojo, since they're low-leveled, and they're not really suited for the upcoming gym, and probably not really the other gyms whatsoever. I don't really use them. So I decided this time around just to use Hitmonchan. And of course, going through the Silphco building, I get myself the Lapras that's given out. And by the time I'm out, I'm usually at level 42. And then by Sabrina, I'm usually at level 43, although I might be cutting it a little bit by only gaining one level, possibly by level 44 if I was at level 42, but I decided to cut it a little bit. So there, 6 badges now. So now, once again, reset the team to take on Blaine. So, I bring Lapras on, I bring Dugtrio back, I'll bring back Onix, and I would get Poliwag and Cubone on the team and have Poliwrath and Marowak. Of course, trade evolutions would be removed, but I don't think you get Metal Coat until post-game in Fire Red Leaf Green, so Onix unfortunately would be stuck as Onix. And of course, everyone here on this team obviously is good against Blaine. All of them are water, ground, rock, which is good against fire. And then after that, I would head down south, take care of all the trainers around Seafoam Islands, and then Pallet Town, head down to Cinnabar. So there, I don't usually do this, but I decided to do it in this scenario. I would revive Kabuto and Aerodactyl, which is even rare for me to get, and I would actually get a Coffin inside the Pokemon Mansion, but everyone would normally be at level 45 after all of that. And then shortly afterwards, I would take care of Blaine, and normally I'd be at level 47 at most. I think I'd actually normally be around like 45 or 46 in most circumstances, But I didn't think at 45 I would be accurately sticking at 46 by the time I get there. So, anyways, I would keep Vaporeon, Lapras, and Poliwrath on, but I would bring back Gloom and become Vileplume. I'd bring Exeggutor and become Exeggutor. And in a rare, probably like an occasional flip, I decided to bring Mankey on and make it a Primeape to counter some weaknesses possibly against it. Although, like I said, it could also be possible I could bring Parasect on. I could have brought Kabuto on, become Kabutops, although part rock would be weak defensively against Giovanni, but that's a possibility. This time around I decided to do Primeape. And then of course there's the Sevii Islands, which I almost completely forgot about when I was making these slides a week or so ago, so I add them on. Now, I don't usually remember the levels I would go through Sevii Islands, because I don't really go through it that much. Don't play Fire Red, Leaf Green a lot compared to like Red, Blue, and Yellow usually. So this had to be more of a wing in it. But I estimated this might be way too high though, that maybe after the Sevii Islands and then taking care of Giovanni, I might be at level 52 highest member by this point, when I got the 8th badges. So if that's the case, get everyone up to level 52, and I normally would keep the teams exactly the same until I get to the Elite Four, because I don't feel like swapping anyone else out. But I would bring Dodrio on to replace Exeggutor, so I have someone with Fly, that way I can quickly go back between Victory Road and Viridian if I need to heal up and anything such, and I might swap anyone else out for like HM requirements, but I think Strength is the only other TM required in Victory Road and Kanto, and I'm pretty sure everyone on my team, or at least someone on my team currently right now, could learn Strength, so I would leave it as such. And then, finally, after going through Blue and Victory Road, I finally arrive at Elite Four, where I estimated I would probably be at level 55, which might be a little bit higher than normal because, like I said about the Sevii Islands. So now that I'm at Victory Road, what do I do? What do I do with my team? Well, first off, I always get my team up to the average Elite Four level. Now, that is all the Pokemon the Elite Four use combined and then divided by all of them. So, the Elite Four members, Lorelei, Bruno, Agatha, and Lance, use 5 each, so that's 20. And then Blue has 6 members, so that's 26. So 26 Pokemon. So you add up all their levels and then divide by 26, and what do you get? 56. So just barely avoiding getting over level by the time I get to Victory Road. So I would get everyone up that I'm going to use for my Elite Four team up to level 56. And I decided this was going to be my team in this scenario on Fire Red to take on the Elite Four. Electrode, instead of using Pikachu, since I don't use Electrode that often, to be useful against Lorelei and some of Lance's members. And then for Bruno, I have Gengar. And then for Agatha, I have Gengar 2 with possibly Psychic, and also Persian. And then for Lance, I got Lapras, and Dragonite, and possibly Voltorb too with Gyarados. And then finally we get to Blue. Since I started off with Charmander in this scenario, he's going to have Blastoise, so Electro can cover that, which is the main threat on his team. And in other words, easy. So there you go. That's how I play Pokemon. And of course, after I'm done with beating the Elite Four, I upload the video, update my Hall of Fame list and stuff like that, and then I delete the ROM. And that's it. And of course, if I'm doing a randomizer, because I always do random stats, this might also change a little bit based upon what's stronger. If something's weaker but strong enough to counter that weakness, I'll use them on the team too. I randomly decide what my teams are going to be as I play the game, based upon my mood, based upon random chances, and if I battle a wild Pokemon and it impressed me enough, I will catch it. And I always swap my teams out after I take on the Elite, not Elite Four, after each gym member, and I always make sure they're at the same levels. I flip each member out as I get everyone leveled up. Like I said earlier, when I go through each part of the game, whoever is the closest to leveling up, I have out front. And then once they level up, I put the next member who's the closest to leveling up front. I make sure everyone is nice and equal throughout. And after I take care of each gym, I remake my team specifically for the next gym's weaknesses so I can crush them. And then by the time I get to the Elite Four, I'll get everyone up to the average level to the Elite Four, which in Fire Red, Leaf Green, and also for Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Japanese Red, Japanese Green, Japanese Blue, is level 56. So I get them up to there, set my team up, and there we go. So, hope you all enjoyed. That's how I play Pokemon, and I will never change how I play. This is how I'm going to always play forever. And that's why, too, they need to not have the forced EXP share on and bring back the national decks, too. So, hope you enjoy.